in this meet emerges. Others just sustain. Forget about statistics, because on this day, it's all about emotion. And all you have to do to see that is go back 1 year ago at USC. UCLA, a narrow 1-point winner in this event. They celebrated. USC said, that's in your face. They have not forgotten. They're looking for a little bit of revenge today. And hello again, everybody. I'm Barry Tompkins, my partner once more, former world record holder in the high jump, Dwight Stones. And Dwight, talk a little bit, first of all, about the women. A couple of names that we're going to be seeing today you might be hearing right on through August.
No question about that, Barry. Some huge work going to be done by two ladies. Let's first start with the UCLA Bruins and SHEENA Johnson, the senior, ranked 5th in the U.S. in the 400-meter hurdles last year, was 8th at the NCAAs in the 100-meter hurdles. She's a good one. We'll see her in a number of events. And then on the Trojan side, sophomore Ginny Powell, 2nd in the 100 meters at the Pac-10 last year, freshman of the year in 2003 for the Trojans. We will see her in a number of events as well.
All right, let's talk about the men for a minute here, and you've heard this song before. USC sprinters. Well, guess what? They're back.
Right, it's always a case. USC always has the sprinters. Coach Ron Alice has a tremendous tradition to be able to recruit from, and this year he's got 3 really core athletes in that sprint contingent. Wes Felix, the Pac-10 champion, the 200 meters last year, made me more famous for being the brother of Allison Felix. Gary Jones and Philip Francis, both integral parts of their 4x100 meter relay in 2003. Then on the UCLA side, Ben Aragon, the man that made that 1-point victory probably possible, winner of 3 events in the dual meet last year, the 800, the 1500, and the crucial 5,000 meters, comes back and tries to do some damage again this year. And then sophomore sprinter Craig Everhart will try and break up that Trojan dominance, at least in the 200 meters. He was 5th in the Pac-10 at 400 meters. On paper, it looks to be a runaway by UCLA on both sides, but like you said before, you can never tell in this meet.
Always a lot of surprises. It's a story that will be just about 2 hours in the telling. When we come back, we'll have Chapter 1. 72 times these two teams have hooked up in track and field. This one should be as special as all the ones prior to it. We're coming back. We're on the UCLA campus here in Westwood, 72nd renewal of one of the great events, the USC-UCLA dual track and field meet. Well, we talked a little bit about what we might expect on the track. What about the field events? With more on that, let's meet the third member of our broadcast team. He knows all, he sees all. He's Fox Sports Net's track and field maven, Tom Fuhr. Tom?
Barry, thank you very much. As you mentioned, the track action will be hot down here on the field. It'll be hot not only from the weather standpoint, but from a competitive level as well. Leading among the people that will be very important to their team's chances today, Alan Sims of USC. He is a potential Olympian in the triple jump. He represented the United States this winter in the World Indoor Championships by winning the U.S. Indoor Championships. He jumped a career best in this meet last year. It became the Pac-10 record of 56 feet 4 inches. He will be going in both the long and triple jump today, coming back from a heel injury, and he will face one of the top long jumpers in the country, Juwan Arma of UCLA. Chelsea Johnson is another one that's a potential Olympian. Great bloodlines. Her father, Jan, was the Olympic bronze medalist in 1972 and USA national champion in 1971. She is a relative neophyte to this event. She only started competing as a senior in high school. As a sophomore now in college, she is the collegiate record holder, the only collegian ever to vault 15 feet, and she's right on the heels of Stacy Dragila, the reigning Olympic champion in this event. Finally, another man to bring up is Dan Ames. Coach Art Venegas calls him the MVP of our team. This 6'3", 260-pound thrower is the reigning Pac-10 champion in the shot put and discus. He was 3rd in the hammer throw. He's also been known to run a 57-1 leg on a 4x400 meter relay, and he'll be bringing bushel loads of points to UCLA. Now, I want to mention 2 other people as well in the field. Jessica Cosby, she was the NC2A shot put champion 2 years ago. She's trying to reclaim that form, and today will be an important meet for her. And Inga Stasialianite of Lithuania, she was the NCAA champion as a freshman. She was 2nd as a sophomore, 2nd as a junior, and of course this meet, her 4th in this great dual meet competition. Barry, back to you.
All right, thanks, Tom. Our first event on the track, the women's 4x100 relay, the dual meet record. 43.35 set by the Trojans in 1999, and the stadium record 43.49 set by the Bruins the year prior. Let's take a look at the lane assignments. UCLA will be on the inside lane, that being lane 5, and in lane 6 will be the Trojans. Both coaches, incidentally, changing the order of this race, Dwight.
Well, that's pretty normal at any track meet. Just make it difficult for us to stay up with who's running what, where. And of course, as the meet goes on, depending on how the team scores go, we may see some athletes pulled out of events in order to save them for the Pac-10 conference meet in a couple of weeks. And there's NCAA regional qualifying, the NCAA championships, and of course for some of these, eventually the Olympic trials in the middle of July.
Yeah, so this meet really taking on even more of an importance, and we expect probably even a quirkier note than it would under normal circumstances because of all those things that are down the road.
No question, and it makes it difficult for a coach to decide how much to run an athlete. There are several athletes on both of these teams who will be competing in Sacramento at the Olympic trials in July, but their first allegiance and their first job, if you will, is to score as many points in these championship meets and dual meets as they can while they're representing their schools. It makes it tough as we're looking at Monique Henderson. She's the high school record holder in the 400 meters, and that was back in 2000. She almost made the U.S. Olympic team that year and has not done a lot since until recently, where she has really come on strong. This season they've retooled some of her techniques. She and Coach Jeanette Bolden, and she will be anchoring this 4x100 meter relay, seeing her doing a lot more sprinting lately.
Yeah, getting better and better according to her coaches as well. Sonny Roseby will run the first leg for UCLA. Alexis Weatherspoon will run leg one. There's Alexis right there for the USC Trojans, and we are just about set to go with our first running event of the afternoon, the 4x100 for women. We look for this to be a competitive race.
Well, on paper, it certainly should be. Of course, it all comes down to the stick passes, and these teams do get an opportunity to work together quite a bit more than, say, even sometimes a U.S. team would. But still, they have so many other duties that they have to really rely on themselves as individuals to do. This is sometimes an afterthought, and you can see by the stick passes how much of an afterthought it is. But on paper, they are pretty closely matched because the UCLA team that we've got on the track certainly has a much better potential than the time they have run as a unit.
So they are at their marks. Weatherspoon on the left of your screen and Roseby for UCLA on the right. Underway in the 4x100. Very even start right now. Very little to choose between these two. Roseby maybe picking up just a little bit of that stagger as we come to the first pass. Ginny Powell for USC. Sheena Johnson for UCLA.
And this is traditionally the longest leg in this 4x100 meter relay. You've got someone who can really have the strength to be finishing strong and passing off well. Not a great pass at UCLA between Johnson and Dawn Harper.
Well, they lost a little bit about that last 10 yards too. So Harper now on the third leg for UCLA. Mia Edmondson for USC, and here's the anchor leg. Dorsey for the Trojans, Henderson for the Bruins. Dorsey has a couple yards. Here comes Henderson. Henderson just full of run, and UCLA is going to win the women's 4x100.
And Henderson just walked down Dominique Dorsey like she was standing still. Dorsey, no slouch as a sprinter, but that will really give us our first look, which unofficially UCLA runs 43.78, a very strong time for the Bruins, but really a first good look at what we were talking about with Monique Henderson sort of coming into her own 4 years later after that great junior year in high school. And that's devastating for any sprinter to be passed like they're standing still like that. That's quite the message that Monique Henderson has sent in this very first running event.
Get used to it. We're going to see a lot more of her before this day is over. Unofficially 43.78. Watch the anchor leg.
Well, look at Henderson on the inside. She is not getting the stick first. Dorsey actually gets the stick. Not a terrible pass for either one of the schools. And Dorsey a little bit of a lead, but look at Henderson, just the first 40 meters that she had the baton. Her turnover so much better. Dorsey much longer striding, which is something you may want to do in the 200 or 400, but not in a relay. And that was just simply greater turnover for Monique Henderson, telling me she has really done a lot of sprint work this spring.
And Monique Henderson, you've got a lot of work yet to do, but none of it is going to be a heck of a lot better than what you just accomplished on that relay. 43.78. That's 3 seconds fast.
And Gary Jones on the anchor.
We come now to the men's 4x100 meter relay. The women's portion of this event, very, very close race and a very, very well-run race by UCLA. The dual meet record, 38.85, posted twice by the Trojans in 75 and again in 78. The big stadium record, 38.17, a couple of years ago, 4 years ago actually. UCLA lane 5, Philip Francis will run the first leg with Wes Felix, who came up big in this meet last year. Blake Frazier runs the third leg, and it'll be anchored by Gary Jones. For UCLA, it'll be Bruno Golston, Jonathan Williams, and Craig Everhart.
And on paper, this is a very closely matched race as well. Again, it'll come down to stick passes. USC has certainly the potential to run quite fast as they have better basic speed. It's just a matter of how they get the passes around. We saw some bad passes on the UCLA women's team, but all made up by the anchor leg by Monique Henderson.
And Dwight, it'll be interesting to see how well Matt Bruno, the former California state champion in the 100 meters, does. He's making a comeback this year, ran well last week.
That's him on the left of your screen. Philip Francis on the first leg for USC. Bruno got out very quickly, but Francis quickly makes up that stagger. It is Francis and USC coming up to the first pass. Wes Felix on the pass for USC. The Trojans with a big edge here.
And look at this. Wes Felix, the Pac-10 200-meter champion, running the longer leg. He's got the strength, and he's just walking by Anthony Goldston. Not a good pass between Felix and Blake Frazier, but Frazier running an excellent turn against Jonathan Williams. Now comes the pass. Craig Everhart of UCLA against Gary Jones of USC.
And Jones takes the pass and extends the lead. Everhart trying to make a run at him, but this one is going to be Jones and the USC Trojans who will win this one handily in 39-4 unofficially.
Barry, that's a heck of a time for USC because they are missing Marvin Anderson, who's run 10:31 for them earlier this year, and they still came up with a time that is 300s faster than what they've already done this year. This team has a lot of upside, Dwight.
No question. I think that that's the kind of time that they were able to run that in the semifinal at the NCAAs this year. 4/10 better than what they ran last year. Didn't get them in the final. This would definitely get them in that final 8.
Officially now in 39-35, so it equals their season's best. I thought a good anchor leg by Gary Jones.
Excellent, and they really recovered from a couple of marginal passes as well. Again, it's not just about having the fastest personnel. It's about having the patience and having the drill work in practice to really keep that baton moving through the zones, and SC could use a little more work there.
Dwight, Craig Everhart, also his anchor leg, just brilliant for UCLA.
All right, so our first 2 relays are in the books. When we come back, we'll turn our attention to the men's 1500. That's all coming up from here at Drake Stadium. 72nd renewal of the UCLA-USC duel. 100 meters, and last year a little bit of an adventure in this particular race. As you look at the dual meet record, 341.97 set by Mark Hauser in 1998, a stadium record 336.29. You don't always think of track and field as a contact sport, but sometimes.
Well, when you have a European athlete like TOMASZ BABISKIEWIEZ, he's also 6'3", and he's mixed it up with a lot of European junior races since he was a little kid, and he said to Ben Aragon, "You're not coming in here. You don't deserve to cut in now." And they discussed it and found that there was no harm done, no foul committed, and Aragon went on to win that race.
And so it is the renewal of that rivalry. Ben Aragon and TOMASZ BABISKIEWIEZ both in this race. Short field, so you have to think perhaps not any kind of traffic problems. First 3 lanes are open. John Rankin, who has to be considered in this race at all, also in lane 3.
Well, you also have to look at the idea of some team running here. This is an important event early on in the meet. And if they do some team running, and USC has one more person on the track than UCLA does, they could change the complexion of this. Also, because of what Ben Aragon did last year, where he won the 800, the 1500, and 5,000, it's a hot day today in LA. It's in the probably the mid to upper 80s, which is real hot here at UCLA. They may want to try and run as much out of Ben Aragon's legs as they possibly can in this, and they might try to take it out hard and see if they'll follow.
USC runners, in addition to BABISKIEWIEZ, are Daniel Siddiqui and William Davis. Not a real threat to win the race, but they can have an effect on the race.
Exactly right, and that's really the beauty of the dual meet. When you've got depth, or you've got somebody who can maybe take it out hard, or help you box a guy, which we've seen happen. It's sometimes a lot like watching the Kenyans versus the Ethiopians at the World Championship level.
Now today, Ben Aragon, who had ran 3 events in this meet last year, only running 2, Dwight, I think that has a lot to do with the heat. So, whereas we might have expected an even more tactical event going on with him in 3 events, with just 2, you know, it may be fortuitous for them to push the pace a little bit and try to take something out of BABISKIEWIEZ, who's coming back.
And early in this race, it was the 3 Trojans who set the early pace, and the 2 UCLA Bruins, Rankin and Aragon, trailing the field.
It looks like to be a reasonably honest pace. They're still somewhat tightly bunched, but there's only 5 of them, so you don't expect to have a problem with people tripping over each other. But again, unless Aragon runs smart, he could get himself into a problem with a box or have to go way wide to take the lead if he feels that the pace is dawdling. So we really have to just see how they feel themselves out through this first lap and a half or so.
And right now, Sadicki is taking the pace out to try to take the sting out of any kind of kick that Aragon would have. He's comfortably in last place right now, but he has a 1:48 800-meter speed, and nobody in this field can possibly stay with him if it comes down to a kick.
William Davis running and now taking over the lead as Babiskiewicz now moves to the back of the pack. Rankin moves into second place, and now Aragon slips into third place.
And Rankin's a 3:45 1,500-meter runner. He's a very legitimate, good, solid, you know, it's a 4:03 or a 4:02 miler. So in his own right, he could come out and win this race if he didn't have guys who have great kicks like Aragon right on his shoulder.
William Davis, the man on the lead, a 4:13 and change best. So not a real threat in this event as the two UCLA runners, Rankin and Aragon, run right behind him, just kind of stalking.
And Babiskiewicz is a great guy to have on a USC type of team. He's got 2 more years of eligibility left. He's a European runner-up in the 1,500 meters in the junior side. He's been Polish junior champion several times. This guy is very savvy. He's very intelligent with regards to how to run a race tactically. And he's just taking his time, feeling out things, because he's not going to really get serious here for another half a lap at least.
And to your point, Dwight, he's the one that stayed out of most of it. As you can see, Aragon's pick is actually running on the shoulder of whether it's been Rankin or the Sadecki. So he's actually doing a lot more work than Babiskiewicz, who's now covering the break that Rankin has made here.
So right now it's the two UCLA runners, Rankin and Aragon, who normally is a kicker. Now Babiskiewicz looming up a little bit, starting to get up closer to the shoulder of Aragon, but still, I'd say good 3-4 yards between them.
Babiskiewicz just running his own race plan. He knows that this race is going to probably be won by the person who has the most finishing speed over the final 150 to 200 meters. He just wants to make certain that he is there to cover any move. He's got himself tucked in there, so if there's any breeze at all, which there often is here at Drake Stadium, to buff it, it's being buffeted by the UCLA athletes. And Babiskiewicz is a 6'3" and monster. He's a big guy for 800. Bell lap.
But Dwight, with Aragon having the better 800-meter speed, at what point does Babiskiewicz finally make his move in this race?
And where does he make the move? He might have to go 3 wide to do it.
Well, that's exactly what they've done, is they've built a fence for him, and now he's losing. He's not covering this move. I think he's pretty much conceded. He's going to get 1 point in this, and he's done.
So it continues to be Rankin. Aragon coming up on his shoulder. Babiskiewicz is out of it. I don't think he's got enough to get up to finish in the top 2 right now, and it just seems to be between the two UCLA runners. Rankin and Aragon are run shoulder to shoulder as they get into the middle of the final turn.
And to show the confidence of their race plan, they haven't, one of them looked back once to see what's happening with Babiskiewicz. That's a lot of confidence.
This race strictly between the two UCLA runners. Now Aragon poking a shoulder in front. It is Aragon in first place, Rankin in second. Now Rankin making a move back up on Aragon, and Rankin may get him. It's going to be Rankin who's going to be first to the finish line. Aragon of UCLA second, and Babiskiewicz of USC a distant third.
Unofficially, Rankin ran very close to 3:43 flat, which is sort of universally thought to be about 4 minutes on the button for a mile. In this heat, and with what would have to be considered somewhat of a tactical race, because they were running sort of team tactic against TOMASZ Babiskiewicz, that has got to be a nice breakthrough for John Rankin.
That is a very quick time under the conditions and considering the competition here today. And we had it unofficially 3:43.3, and we'll see what it is officially in just a moment. But a terrific race for UCLA. 3:43.10 is the official time. Outstanding.
Very close to what would be considered exactly a 4-minute mile. And again, it is not a cool day here at UCLA. However, the wind is cooperating in that there's not much of it, but it's also making it so it isn't much cooler.
So John Rankin is the mild surprise winner of the men's 1500, beating his teammate Ben Aragon in a stretch run. UCLA put more points on the board. Well, the story of the men's 1500, the two UCLA runners, Ben Aragon and John Rankin, and Rankin found a little something extra to win this one over his teammate. Right now, they are both with Tom Fewer. Tom?
John, 3:43 on a day like this with the heat. This dual meet seems to bring out the best in everybody, including yourself.
It's an amazing meet. We always talk about how, like, when you get to this meet, something always special happens, and you just got to get on the train and go for it and see what happens. And today's performance is a result of that.
Ben, you won 3 events in this dual meet last year, including a rather controversial win with Babiskiewicz and you bumping in the 1500 last year. Were you surprised that he didn't put up much of an effort here?
Yeah, you know, going into the race, about the first 100 meters, it looked like they were setting up some kind of tactical thing, and I mean, they did a good job on that, but as soon as we start pressing on the pace, you know, most of the guys were done. I heard TOMASZ coming up in the back, but by then he couldn't catch up. It's just too late.
Well, UCLA's turning into a middle distance powerhouse under Eric Peterson. Barry, back up to you.
All right, thanks very much, Tom. Well, the UCLA Bruins again continue to put the points up right in the face of the USC Trojans, but maybe playing to the Trojans' strength now. When we come back, women's and men's high hurdles. Don't go away. 100-meter hurdles, and this race right should be decided in the middle of the track.
Absolutely. The women we've been talking about since the beginning of the show. Jenny Powell, the sophomore from USC, third best time in the Pac-10 in this event. She was 6th at the NCAA championships as a freshman of the year in the Pac-10. In lane 6, the senior from UCLA, as we take a look at Jenny Powell in lane 5. In lane 6, Sheena Johnson, the senior, the NCAA champion in the 400-meter hurdles, which is probably her better event, and she will debut her race at that event in this dual meet this year. But she has the second best time in the conference at the 100-meter hurdle distance. Should be a very competitive race between these two. Only 300ths of a second separating them in their times this year.
And if it's not them, you got to look at lane 4. Dawn Harper has a 13:21 time. So Jenny Powell surrounded by her competition. Harper will be on her right shoulder. Sheena Johnson will be on her left shoulder.
Harper in lane 4 has run 13:21 as a personal best, but only 13:76 this year. But the UCLA coaches will tell you, and the athletes too, the season begins with this dual meet. Everything up to this, just practice, just getting ready for the beginning of the season, which is right now.
And as we've said, people always seem to emerge in this meet.
Set.
We are underway, and Powell just shot out of the blocks. It is Powell, Johnson, and Harper. Now it's Powell, Harper, or rather Johnson, Harper, and Powell. And it's going to be Powell getting back in a second, but this is all Sheena Johnson. Johnson and Harper might have gotten there with a lean over Powell.
Yeah, that's a great example, Barry, of it's not how you start, it's how you finish. And Jenny Powell got out of the blocks like the sprinter that she is, but she had trouble about the third hurdle with her technique. And Sheena Johnson is such a better technician already. Powell already lost her lead that she got from out of the blocks, is struggling between hurdles. She's a very tall athlete. She's got to get that lead leg down faster. Sheena Johnson's just a machine. She's like a sewing machine out there. And Dawn Harper up there in lane 4 is going to, very close to outleaning her. Powell might have nailed down second place.
Very, very close for second. No contest for first. As Sheena Johnson, the winner, and right now she's with Tom Fuhrer. Tom?
Well, we thought your best event was the 400-meter hurdles, where we think you've got a great shot to make the Olympic team. I think you sent a little notice out today that you're a short hurdler as well.
Yeah, I'm really trying to focus on getting my short hurdles up now that I've pretty much mastered the 400 hurdles. So been working on it last couple weeks.
Well, you've had a terrific day already. The 4x100-meter relay race was terrific. This 100-meter hurdle race is great. What can we look for in your best event, the 400 hurdles, a little bit later, and on your halfway through your quadruple here?
Well, I'm opening up for the first time today, so I'm hoping to go out and run a pretty good time.
Coach Bolden says that she's getting you ready to make the finals of the Olympic trials. Are you, as you go through the season, is that the thing that's sticking most in your mind, is to make that Olympic team?
Yeah, in every race I run, sort of preparing myself to get ready for Olympic trials competition too.
Thank you very much, Sheena. Barry, 2 down and 2 to go for Sheena Johnson.
Really getting it done to 13 flat, Dwight. Not bad.
Excellent time for this early in the season for her.
You touched upon that earlier, that because of the conditions here, because of the weather, because of the lack of wind, we could see some very good times. And so far, you've been prophetic.
Done this meet a few times.
Well, before we move on to the men's 110-meter high hurdles, Dwight, tell us about the women's shot put.
Kamaya Warren, the senior from UCLA, just ranked 7th in the conference coming in here to today's meet. But like I said, it's how you do in this big meet. Jessica Cosby, former NCAA champion in the shot put, out well there. The southpaw wins it 56 feet, but only a 9-inch victory over her teammate. Warren really making a move in an important meet. 1-2 for the Lady Bruins.
So again, the Bruin women putting points on the board and putting some distance between themselves and the USC Trojans. Only a 4-man field in the men's 110-meter high hurdles. Kenneth Thomas, Anthony Galston, Blake Frazier of USC, Jonathan Williams, UCLA outside. Just a field of 4, Galston the favorite.
Galston ran that second leg on the UCLA 4x100-meter relay. Unfortunately, he ran it against Wes Felix, so Wes made him look like he was standing still. But the hurdles are a sprint, but more a technical event. Galston has the second best time in the conference this year and should easily win this race, along with teammate Jonathan Williams out there in lane 7.
So UCLA looking to finish 1-2 here. Galston in lane 5. And we are underway, and Galston getting out pretty well, knocking down hurdles, but still getting the job done. It is Galston and Williams, 1-2 UCLA. Galston and Williams continue to lead, and Galston's in great form right now. Hit another hurdle, but just kind of ran through him like a slalom skier.
Well, Galston absolutely plastered the second hurdle, and it takes a lot of strength and a lot of focus to not trip or get your timing disturbed hardly at all by doing that. Some of the greats at doing that, of course, were Roger Kingdom, Greg Foster, very, very good, very strong. Alan Johnson's quite good at it too. But Galston really slammed into the second hurdle. You'll see it. He gets off the line very nicely, but watch the second hurdle. He just flattens it. Didn't seem to disturb him much, and he probably hit half the hurdles after that with a pretty good clip. But it didn't seem to bother him at all, and he's probably looking more for the Pac-10 championship race, where he is going to have to line up against Eric Mitchum from Oregon for the title.
Well, he hit 4 hurdles and still 1 for fun, and he's with Tom Fuhrer. Tom?
Well, you were like a wood chopper out there, Anthony, but you seem to get the job done.
Yeah, coming out of the blocks, first hurdle was good. Smashed the second one. Just had to maintain my focus. That kind of woke me up a little bit, so I had to pay attention to my form after that.
You made such a terrific leap this year as far as your ability goes. I talked to Coach Venegas earlier in the week. He said that a big reason was Tony Vini.
Yes, he's a blessing to the team. He's just so positive reinforcement. That's really what gets me going, and I know it's showing in the other guys too.
Well, thank you, Anthony. Dwight, I know that you have a relationship with Mr. Vini, the assistant coach at UCLA.
That's right. Anthony Vini and Dwight Stones were roommates at UCLA back in late 1971, early 1972. We were freshmen on the UCLA track team. Great. It's great to see Tony back here. This is where he belongs.
Officially, Galston 13-7. Jonathan Williams 13-9-3. Blake Frazier of USC third in 14-83. We'll come back. The women's 400-meter dash on the other side of this. Standings after 9 events, and UCLA starting to run away and hide from USC. They lead by 19 points right now. On the men's side of things, after 6 events, UCLA dominating there as well, leading by 20, and things looking pretty lopsided right now.
Yeah, I think that women's score will get to be more and more lopsided, but USC will make up some points in the sprinting events. They could very easily sweep the 100 meters. They might go 1-2 in the 200, so that will help.
We come now to the women's 400-meter race. A dual meet record, 51:33 by Monique Henderson a couple of years ago, and she is in this race again and running in fine form. The stadium record, 49:89 by Krachovilova of Czechoslovakia in 1985. Mackenzie Hill, UCLA, lane 3. Triani Swain of SC, lane 4. Monique Henderson, UCLA, lane 5. And Tracy Thomas, lane 6. And Henderson gave us an indication of what might yet be in her relay leg.
You know, Monique Henderson set the current high school national record in the 400 meters her junior year and was a finalist in the Olympic trials at 400 meters in the year 2000. Has not come close to really breaking through from that time. She won the California State High School 400 meter championship all 4 years she was in high school. So she's definitely got talent, but they've had to retool her technique a little bit. They've cut her stride length down a bit and allowed for more turnover. And boy, did we see that on that anchor leg in the 4x100 relay. It's hard to say if she might want to show her stuff here in this 400 meters. She's got a small field. UCLA is going to dominate this meet. She knows that. I'm looking to see a nice, steady race with a very solid time.
And Dwight, she ran her personal best at 200 meters last week down at the Triton Invitational at UC San Diego, running 23:03. And I'll bet, too, she wants to send a message to Sonia Richards, who broke her high school record, of course, a year after she, in fact, set it, that, you know, there's more than one person that should be favored for the NCAA 400-meter title.
So if her last 2 races are any indication that she's running in form, she might do very, very well here, as Tom said, breaking personal best in San Diego in the 200, and then her anchor leg of the relay in the first event that we saw today. She's already made up the stagger on Tracy Thomas running outside of her, so this is just not going to be so much a case of who, but by how much.
This is really almost a time trial for her because she's got no one to key off of. I might have put her on a more inside lane, so she would have had still be looking at someone by about now. As it is, she'll probably run almost 300 meters of this 400-meter race completely by herself. That's very, very difficult to do.
And she already has a lead, hard to tell here, but I'd say a good 20 yards over her closest competitor as she turns for home. And this is just a question of the clock right now for Monique Henderson. Henderson with an easy lead over Tracy Thomas. Triani Swain of USC is third. Mackenzie Hill fourth. And here comes Henderson to the finish line and just cruises to the finish line unofficially 51-1. And as you said, she was only running against herself and the clock.
You know, virtually alone, she runs 51.1. We saw some very strong relay carries last week at the Penn Relays. Lashinda Demas from South Carolina ran a 50.1, as did Allison Felix. But that is a time trial 400-meter run for Monique Henderson after running a very good 4x1 relay. It really appears that if she can stay healthy, she is back in the 400-meter wars, and we could see her in the relay pool for the U.S. team in Athens.
Officially 51-2 for Monique Henderson, and a very, very easy win. Thomas of USC second, Swain of USC third, and Hill of UCLA finishing in fourth place. Once more we go trackside. Tom Fuhrer with the winner. Tom?
Monique, you look like a different runner this year. Leg turnover is faster. What's been the big difference this season?
A lot of good training in the fall, a lot of strength work.
51.20. I think that's the fastest time by an by collegiate this year. There's some people out there that I'm sure you're looking at, Sonia Richards and a couple of others. Do you feel like this might really be the breakthrough year for you?
Definitely. I already know this is going to be the best year of my career. Very confident.
Well, 2 down, a couple more races potentially to go. Congratulations again. Great day.
Thank you.
Barry?
All right, she made it look easy here in the 400. Here's the official results. Monique Henderson, 51-2. Tracy Thomas, USC, 52.99. Triani Swain of USC, 53.62. Well, a full field in the men's 400. James Lee, USC. Jeff Jacobs, UCLA, lane 2. Michael Pratt, SC, lane 3. Danye Verscher of UCLA, lane 4. Brendan Matlock, lane 5. Craig Everhart of UCLA, lane 6. Deshaun Cunningham, lane 7. USC. Mario Bassani of UCLA in lane 8, and Michael Elbogen of UCLA out in lane 9, running all by his lonesome.
Yeah, Craig Everhart made a valiant effort in the anchor leg of the 4x100-meter relay, but was just too far behind USC to really make much of a difference. But this is really more his specialty. He's more of a strength athlete, doing some sprint-type work to improve his 400. The 200 meters maybe where he can make an impact later on today. But this is really his race to lose. He's ranked second in the conference, 45.52. Just a sophomore, right inside him in lane 5, Brandon Matlock of USC coming into his own this year. 7th best time in the conference this year. He's going to have to really put on some speed early in this competition if he's going to make Everhart crumble, and I just don't see it happening. It's at home, UCLA. Everhart has got the strength, and we might even see up in lane 4 Danye Verscher, the junior. He is 1 place in front of Matlock on the form chart for the Pac-10s. This could be a 1-2 Bruin finish. And Dwight,
Coach Venegas said Craig Everhart is so pumped up for this meet, he wouldn't be surprised if he went out at 44 second pace here. And remember, though, that Matlock as well has won this dual meet 2 years in a row.
Matlock, of course, will have Everhart to shoot at. He's going to be outside of him, so he'll be able to see him. They're set. And underway in the 400. Very even start.
If I'm Brandon Matlock, who is quickly falling behind,
Danye Verscher is the guy who really made a big move.
I would really be keying off of Craig Everhart, but Matlock already appears to be out of it unless he's doing something the first 200 meters where he just saves himself and is going to have a big finish.
It's like Everhart and Verscher with Matlock maybe in 3rd place right now. Everhart clearly in front as they head to the middle of the turn. It looks as though it's going to be, as they turn for home, Everhart in 1st place and Verscher in 2nd place. It is Everhart, Verscher, and out in lane number 9, that's Mike Elbogen of UCLA. So it's going to be Everhart who's going to win it. Verscher tying up a little bit. Matlock coming at him, but it's going to be Verscher who finishes in 2nd place, and a very well-run race by Craig Everhart.
And Jeff Garrison of USC is the one that ends up coming up. The sophomore comes up for 3rd place. Also a 400-meter hurdler, so he really likes Payne, but at least he got the 1 point for USC. Not surprising that Everhart and Verscher were going 1-2 for the Bruins. 45.39, a very good time for Craig Everhart. That keeps him in 2nd best in the Pac-10, but does improve his seasonal best.
So Everhart, a very even start, and in about the first 50 or 60 yards, he established himself, and right now he's with Tom Fuhrer. Tom?
You got a big smile on your face. That was a heck of a run. 45.39, one of the fastest times in the country this year.
I'm just really proud to be running. My family's here. I love everybody. I just want to say hello to everybody back home out in Washington. And as long as I keep listening to my coach, we'll keep getting faster. We have a hard-working team, and I'm just proud to be here.
Well, Craig, very nice job. We'll look forward to seeing you at the Pac-10. Barry and Dwight.
Okay, thanks very much, Tom, and thanks to Craig Everhart as we make it official. Everhart 45-39, as Tom said, an excellent time. Daniel Verscher, his teammate, 46-78. Michael Pratt for USC got there for third in 47-27. We turn to the sprints when we come back to Drake Stadium. 76th renewal of the dual track meet between USC and UCLA. And the women's pole vault, it's news not so much for who won, but for who didn't.
That's the truth. This is Chelsea Johnson, the collegiate record holder, runner-up at the NCAA Indoor Championships in March. And on her third attempt at her opening height, 12 feet 10 inches, she fails to clear, so she gets no height. And more importantly for the UCLA Bruins, no points. Now this is sophomore Jackie Nguyen of UCLA with the bar at 12 feet 4 inches, ranked 6th in the Pac-10 in 2004, and she clears easily, and that was enough to win it. Jackie Nguyen, the upset winner in the women's pole vault. I was looking forward to seeing Chelsea Johnson jump well out here, and she has to defer to her teammate.
But again, it's one of those things that we spoke of at the very beginning of this show, is a chance for some to emerge and some to take at least a momentary step backward as we look to the women's 100 meters. And this too could be a competitive race. Dual meet record 11:11 by Shaquidia Jones of UCLA in 1998, and the stadium record set by Evelyn Ashford back in 82, 10.93. Here are the lane assignments. A couple of late scratches in this race, so lane 2 and lane 8 will be open. Dominique Dorsey of USC will run on the inside lane with nobody alongside her. That's tough. Alexis Weatherspoon, USC, lane 3. Don Harper, UCLA, coming off a third in the hurdles. 4, Virginia Powell, Jenny Powell in lane 5. Sonny Roseby of UCLA, lane 6. Mia Edmondson of USC, lane 7. Lane 8 will be open, and Tara Davis-Corey. That's a familiar name, isn't it?
Certainly is. Donald Corey, her father, was the Olympic silver medalist in the 100 meters in Montreal, 76, and won the 200 meters at those Olympic Games. One of the great sprinters in history, and certainly one of the great sprinters in USC school history, and also an excellent coach.
And also Mia Edmondson in lane 7 with some pretty good genes also.
Yeah, I'll say I went to school with Edmondson's father, Warren, who won the 100 and 200 DNCs in 1972, and then his mother, Barbara Farrell. So that's pretty good genes for Maya Edmondson.
Should mention Dawn Harper, who we saw on that start list, is not starting. She just ran the hurdles, but she is not in this race. And we are underway, and Powell got a great start. It is Powell, and alongside that is Alexis Weatherspoon of USC. Now it's Powell all by her lonesome. It's going to be Powell. The race is for second. It is Powell with Roseby. And third place close. I believe Mia Edmondson might have gotten there for third.
Jenny Powell, again, second in the Pac-10 championships at 100 meters last year, so not surprising to see her winning this race. But I frankly thought she would separate herself more from the field. She had even a better start in the hurdles and just sort of blew up. Unofficially 11:46. Her best time this year is 11:39, and with very little wind down there. That's a credible time because Drake Stadium and Marshall Field, not known as a sprinter's type of track. This is not a place you want to go to try to get qualifying marks or anything. So that's a fine time for Jenny Powell.
And her second win of the day, and right now she is with Tom Fury. Tom?
Jenny, third race of the day, so I know you're a little tired, but you seem to look a lot better in this race than you did in the 100-meter hurdles.
Yeah, I did. I was mad after the hurdles, so I wanted to come first and score some points for my team. But I felt more comfortable in this race than the hurdles. I was a little tense.
I was talking to Coach Alice earlier in the week, and he said that perhaps by both sprinting and hurdling, that perhaps that's hurting your hurdling a little bit. Do you think so or not? Usually the sprinting helps paradoxically with the hurdling.
I think the sprinting has helped the hurdling a lot. So I like doing both.
Well, big day for you. Are you going to come back in the 200 a little bit later?
I don't know. If the team needs me for points, I'll do it, of course.
All right, well, 3 down for Ginny now. Back to you, Barry.
Been a busy lady. So Jenny Powell gets the W, 11:46. Sonny Roseby, UCLA, second, 11:54. And Mia Edmondson of USC did get there for third in 11:59. Let's go now to the men's 100-meter dash. And this could be a very competitive race also. This is an area of wealth for USC. Ado Bolden, the Dual meet record holder 10:04, not bad. Drake Stadium record set by James Sanford of USC back in 1980 at 10:02. Here are the lane assignments. Kurt Shepard, USC lane 2. Wes Felix, who had a great meet in this duel last year, in lane 3. Philip Francis of USC lane 4. Matt Bruno, UCLA lane 5. Gary Jones coming off a great anchor leg to start things here in the 4x100. Lane next to him is open, and then Ryan Simmons of USC running between 2 open lanes.
Well, Gary Jones, we're looking to probably, he's the leader in the Pac-10 this year, 10.26 he's run up to this point. And then Philip Francis is the 3rd best sprinter, the junior from USC, 10.35. And then Wes Felix, he's really a 200-meter specialist, more than 100, but it's probably enough to get a 9:0 sweep for the Trojans in this and help tighten up the team race a little bit.
Matt Bruno will be the guy hoping to not let that happen for UCLA. He's the guy, of course, we talked about a little bit earlier, an outstanding high school athlete, just now kind of getting back to where he was.
Down my neck of the woods as a Mission Viejo senior, he really was a kid who won it all. And a little tough transition into the college ranks. I mean, this is major college track and field when you're going to school in the Pac-10, especially down here in Southern California. So he's been able to stay close to home, but he's at the hotbed of track and field, especially for sprinting here.
And we talk about Gary Jones. He's also a former high school state champion. So plenty of guys who came out of the prep ranks with a lot of credentials and just trying to continue their career now here at the collegiate level.
Jones really doing the work the last couple of years as a relay runner for USC, but this sophomore year he's coming into his own as a sprinter. As I said, he's leading the Pac-10 in the sprints, which is not an easy thing to do when you've got a bunch of good kids at Arizona State. You always have a couple dotted here and there throughout the conference.
So it'll be Jones in lane number 6, empty lane next to him, and Matt Bruno will be on his right shoulder, and then on Bruno's right shoulder, Philip Francis. Wes Felix alongside him. That's the power in this race. The men's 100 meters. They're at their marks.
This is so often the case with USC and UCLA. SC's got the sprint power, and then UCLA's got so many good field event athletes, and it's really turned into a tough distance team as well.
They're off in the 100. Jones got a very good start. It is Jones, and right now it is Felix out in lane 2. That is Felix who has the lead for USC. It is Felix in 2nd place is going to be Francis, and I think Jones got there for 3rd, and that's that sweep you spoke of.
Real close, though, between Gary Jones and Matt Bruno for 3rd. It surprised me a little bit because Gary Jones did look very good in that 4x100 relay. He kept his technique together nicely. Craig Everhart of UCLA was really having to struggle to try to catch him. Matt Bruno got a great start down in lane 5. But Wes Felix, an outstanding first 50 meters, and he just held on to it. Felix winning that race shows you what he might be ready to do in the 200. And then Philip Francis, very close between Jones and Bruno, and officially it is a sweep for USC. We don't exactly have a great shot of the finish line for the straightaway races where we are here.
10:31 unofficially the winning time for Wes Felix, who has made a career out of this meet, it seems. So the men's 100-meter winner, Wes Felix. We will see him again very likely in the 200. His best win of the season, especially at a distance that is not necessarily his best, as Tom Fuhrer pointed out. 10:31, the official time for Felix. We'll come back. Plenty more action. The women's 800-meter run on the other side of this commercial break. Don't go away. The standings amongst the women after 12 events, and UCLA continuing to lead handily, 61-43. On the men's side after 9 events, UCLA just blowing USC away.
I'm a little surprised to see that that gap is so large, even larger between the men as opposed to the women.
Here's the women's 800, not the men's 800, as we prepare for this one.
How are you? What's up? I saw you in the paper today.
Yeah, I think so.
Here are the lane assignments for the women's 800 meters. Maribeth Boucher of UCLA, lane 1. Shantae McKinney, SC, lane 2. Jenny Esser, UCLA, lane 3. Gina Clayton of USC, lane 4. Jenna Tominski, one of the favorites in this race. Ervina Vashchuk of USC. Ashley Caldwell, UCLA, lane 7. Triani Swain, another of the favorites, lane 8. USC, and Jessica Marr of UCLA on the outside in lane 9. Women's 800.
Certainly one of the most competitive races in the meet, Dwight. Vasychuk, our first chance to look at her today, had a tremendous cross-country season. She's from Kiev, Ukraine, and Jenna Tominski's just been a star for Eric Peterson's middle distance crew this year.
Well, what I like about this race is that it should just be a good race. Tominski is ranked second in the Pac-10, redshirt freshman, and Vasychuk from Ukraine as well as USC, the junior, sixth in the Pac-10, but the times go right out the window in a race like this.
Should point out too, Triani Swain of USC was to be in lane 8. She did not make it to the starting line, so there is no Triani Swain in this race.
And Barry, also a couple other athletes of note. Gina Clayton from USC, she's run 2:08.90 this year, which has been kind of an emergence for Tom Walsh's middle distance crew. And Ashley Caldwell for UCLA is currently in third. Also, and you can really see Tominski has taken it out there.
Now Tominski from the Ukraine, 2:08.48, her best, very good cross-country runner, and running very comfortably in first place right now.
Tominski has decided she's just going to make the break. And what's tough about that is that you've got to run the race all by yourself, and you give someone behind you some incentive to come and catch you. She goes out in about 61 seconds high, so she's looking at 2:03 pace as she keeps it up, but she is having to run the race all by herself. Again, as I mentioned earlier, very fortunate today from a standpoint of wind, as there's very little of it, and how much hotter that makes it, Tom. You would know better than us because you're down on the infield.
Well, it is, and they're actually down on field level, Dwight. There is a bit of a wind that they have along the backstretch that they're facing in the home stretch. But what surprises me here is how hard Tominski went out, because that split is awfully fast. As you can see, the field, including Vasychuk and Caldwell, are starting to come back on her.
Well, you oftentimes pay when you go out there and set the pace, and Vasychuk, being a strong European from Ukraine, she's maybe measured herself very, very well, know what she's prepared to do. She may have said, listen, I'm going to run 2:05, and I'm going to run the race I need to. If that puts me in the lead, fine. Well, she's in a great situation. Always better to be the hunter than to be the hunted, but Caldwell also looking very good.
Yeah, right now it's Vasychuk and Caldwell, and this is going to be a race between these two. Caldwell getting up on her shoulder. Does Vasychuk have enough to hold her off? It appears she might be able to. It is going to be Vasychuk who wins it over Caldwell. And holding on for third place was Gina Clayton.
Boy, and Tominski paid the price of that 61-second first lap. What a tremendous battle down the home stretch with Vasychuk and Caldwell. Kind of a breakthrough race, too, for Ashley Caldwell.
Unofficially 2:07.35 for the winner, Vasychuk. 2:07.41 for Caldwell. Clayton third ahead of Tominski.
Well, Tominski really paid the price. She ran out in, like I said, about 2:03 pace and just couldn't hang on to it. She gave great incentive to Irina Vasychuk and her teammate, actually Tominski's teammate, Ashley Caldwell, and the strength of Vasychuk from Kiev, Ukraine, just the junior, and being a 1,500-meter runner, she's got that over-distance training and has that strength, and she was able to hold off Caldwell, and Tominski didn't even end up scoring in that 800 meters.
And Dwight, as we talked about how breakthrough performances for Caldwell, a 2-second plus personal best here, reminds me a little bit of what Hassan Williams did on this track 2 years ago for UCLA in the exact same event.
Credit to Vasychuk, though. She would not let Caldwell by her. She got right up on her shoulder at about 25 yards from the finish line, but Vasychuk just fought her off. 2:07.35, 0.06 of a second better than Caldwell, who had a personal best. We look ahead now to the men's 800-meter run. Take a look at the records. In the men's 800, 1:46.47 by Rayfeld Beaton is the meet record back in 1978. The stadium record, that goes back a ways to Rick Wohlhuther of UCTC, University of California Track Club.
University of Chicago Track Club.
I was close. Hey, I got 3 out of 4. Come on. But I do remember Wohlhuther. Jonathan Chiampa in lane 1. Lane 2 will be open, as Alex Van Oak will not be running in this race. Jeff Heft of USC. Ben Aragon, we saw earlier. Anthony Heckman, USC lane 5. Nick Thornton of USC lane 6. Deshaun Cunningham, going to be an interesting race for him. Predominantly a 400-meter guy. We'll see what he can do here. John Rankin, UCLA lane 8. And John Pichelt of USC in lane 9. And now Cunningham is not going to start either, so we're not going to see what a 400-meter runner can do at 800 meters.
I don't blame him either. Ben Aragon, who ran a very good 800 meters earlier, but was beaten by his teammate 1,500 meters earlier and was beaten by his teammate John Rankin. Both these guys coming back, and again with this heat, that's just going to be so tough to come back in middle distance events with it being well into the 80s down on the track.
Anthony Heckman and Nick Thornton of UCLA also could provide a little punch. This should be an interesting race.
Well, Nick Thornton is really he's another one of those Bruins who have been training under Tony Vini, Eric Peterson, who has had a breakthrough season, 148 flat. He's run already this year, and he absolutely has to be the favorite right now for the Pac-10 title, and you can see him going right out into lead, and look at how relaxed he looks there, Dwight.
Yeah, Thornton with the best time in the conference this year, as you mentioned, 148 flat. And this is just one of those confidence builder type of races. Look at how much smaller he is than the guys he's running against, and that shot shows it perfectly. He can get it done being all kinds of different sizes, but USC has a couple of horses in there as 800-meter runners, sort of the way that event has been going more and more in this country. But Nick Thornton does have the best time in the conference. Aragon only the 20th best this year, but he has a personal best of 148.8, so he certainly has the ability. John Rankin's also moving up there.
Heckman about to go by the leader right now, Thornton, but Thornton fought him off.
And Thornton and Peschel just had a little elbowing there, Rankin and Peschel. I've just been amazed, Barry and Dwight, at John Rankin, who came in today with a personal best by 2 seconds of 1,500, and he's hanging right in there with the trees that are surrounding him from USC.
He really is, and let's see if he can get any space on the inside, and he does get up on Heckman's shoulder for a moment on the inside, but still running third. This race still very much up for grabs right at the moment.
And Coach Venegas had said, I'm worried about Anthony Heckman. He said, I know Nick Thornton's been running great this year, but I'm worried about what Heckman might do.
Well, Rankin's running a psychotic race. He had himself boxed a moment ago. He tried to pass on the inside, and now he's going wide to try to take the lead, but Heckman won't let him by, and he's wasted an awful lot of energy.
Yeah, Heckman fought him off nicely, but Thornton able to fight off Heckman. It continues to be Thornton, Heckman, Rankin, and now making a big move for UCLA as well as Aragon, but he's not going to get there. Thornton wins it. Heckman second, Rankin third ahead of Aragon.
Well, it's a very interesting race, and I use the term interesting loosely. Thornton sort of kept himself out of the fray up in the front, but looked like he might lose the lead. But he has that superior strength, even for him being a little guy. Let's take a look at the last turn. Here comes Thornton off that last turn. Look at Heckman. He's just a monster by comparison, but Thornton able to fight him off. Rankin had used so much energy back in third, trying to get into the lead or trying to get maybe into second, and just ran out of gas. But Thornton just lifts nicely up the home stretch, and Heckman just didn't have the strength or the speed to match him.
149.96, the official time for Thornton. So Thornton is the winner of the 800, and he ran an excellent race. I mean, his time was not sensational, but I think he'll take it. Thank you very much. So Thornton puts more points on the board for UCLA in the men's 800. The Bruins dominating on both sides here in the 72nd renewal of this duel. USC and UCLA. Let's take a look now as we go to the field events and the women's javelin competition, right?
Well, Barry, the most dominant javelin thrower for USC ever, NASTASSJA, the senior at USC, never has lost this dual meet, never lost a Pac-10 competition. She's got one more left to go in a couple of weeks, and she flips it out there 172 feet 4 inches to lead a Lady Trojan sweep of the women's javelin. That certainly will help a little bit in that gap that's opened up. And the men's shot put, Dan Ames, the man that will be very, very busy over this 2-day period. He already won the hammer yesterday. He gets out to 64.7 3/4, the second best mark of the season for him. And he first and third for UCLA. He was also third at the NCAA Indoor Championships in the shot put back in March.
So a couple of names to tuck away in the back of your mind, as we said, looking ahead to the Pac-10 Championships and later on to the NCAA Championships, and for many, or I should say perhaps for some, the Olympic trials. Not all Americans, incidentally. We're going to see there's a few people here we're going to be seeing running for their home country.
No question, and that's the case every year out of these two schools.
Now the women's 400-meter hurdles, the dual meet record, 56.02, set by Joanna Hayes 5 years ago. The Drake Stadium record, Brown King.
From Athletic to West.
Right.
Yeah, what you said.
Yes. What did I say? Don Harper will be in lane 3. Tunisia Johnson in lane 5. Sheena Johnson, the odds-on choice here. Derby Day, I got to say odds-on. And NASTASSJA Hall of UCLA in lane 7. But this is all about Sheena Johnson.
And what I can't tell you is where she's ranked in the Pac-10 in this event, because she hasn't run this event this year, an event where she was ranked number 5 in the U.S. for 2003. She is the defending, or reigning, I guess at this point, NCAA champion in this particular event, and many feel, I'm one of them, that she has an excellent chance of representing the U.S. in Athens this summer. She has a very long season ahead of her, and that really is going to be the test. Does she have the strength? Does she have the background? Has she done everything she needs to do and be able to really endure meets like today, the Pac-10 in a couple weeks, the NCAA regionals, the NCAA championships, all these meets, and then go and run 3 hard races at the Olympic trials in the middle of July in Sacramento.
And Dwight, you interviewed Lashinda last week, and she said, well, a lot of these early season races are just workouts, but when you run a 13 flat in 100 hurdles and run like she did on the relay, it's hard to believe that, isn't it?
That tells you something.
Underway in the women's 400-meter intermediate hurdles, and SHEENA Johnson has almost already made up the stagger on NASTASSJA Hall.
And much like Monique Henderson in the 400, now SHEENA Johnson, for more than 300 meters of this race, is going to be running a time trial. The part that's a little easier, and this is the hardest event in track and field in my opinion, is that she does have a pattern she wants to run. She wants to run a certain amount of strides between hurdles, and that allows her to focus. She doesn't need to have other people in the race because she's managing her effort, her energy, trying to be technically sound, which she's been so far, and she's trying to hit her stride pattern.
And Dwight, she did look very good over those last few hurdles. You know, the idea, of course, is just to nick those hurdles, not to, you know, like jump at the hurdles, although that last one wasn't so good.
That was a high jump.
Yeah, she got a lot of air on that one.
And so SHEENA Johnson will get to the last hurdle here, and then just a little sprint, and I use that phrase advisedly, a little sprint to the finish line, and she gets there.
Well, unofficially 56.7 for Johnson, and that would easily put her almost a second and a half better than Deanna Slayton from Cal as the best time in the conference this year. So I think everything we've been saying about her is confirmed with that run all by herself, virtually a time trial.
TUNISIA Johnson of USC did finish second ahead of the other 2 UCLA runners, Harper and Hall. And we go trackside once more. Tom Fuhrer with SHEENA Johnson. Tom?
SHEENA, 56.45, your first race of the year. Technically, how did you feel that race went?
It went pretty good. My steps were on where I thought they should be. So overall, it was pretty good.
Do you have a time goal at all this year? Obviously, you ran low 54 last year. What do you think you're capable of, especially with some of the speed work that you're doing this year?
53 mid.
53 mid? Wow.
Yep.
That would be very impressive. That might be enough to get you a medal at the Olympic Games.
Yeah, that's the goal.
Well, 3 races. Are you going to see in the 4x4?
I don't know yet.
Have you had enough for today?
I think so.
All right, Barry?
All right, thanks very much, Tom. SHEENA Johnson, very engaging, isn't she?
Yes, and I have to tell you, if she has that ambitious a goal, she may very well be on the podium in Athens, but certainly she looks like a finalist in Athens, which is great for a youngster because that means she's got a lot of great hurdling ahead of her.
First race at 400 meters that she's had this year, and just kind of did it like she's been doing it all year.
Yes.
The men's 400-meter hurdles, another grueling race. Very tough race, no question about it. The dual meet record holder and a good one. Felix Sanchez, USC, 49.48. Edwin Moses, but there's a couple of pretty good names. Holds the stadium record. Matthew Geisler, USC in lane number 2. Matt Willis, UCLA lane 3. Jensen Wayne, SC lane 4. Jonathan Williams of UCLA, one of the contenders, lane 5. Kenneth Thomas, SC lane 6. Brandon Johnson, just a freshman from UCLA, lane 7. Brian Andrews, lane 8. And Alex Van Oak, who scratched out of the 800, is going to run the 400-meter hurdles.
Oh, well, good. Yes, he made a really good choice there. Again, the hardest event in the sport as far as I'm concerned. You have to be fast, you have to be very strong, you have to have good endurance, and it's a technical event. So when you've got Jonathan Williams, the junior from UCLA, out in lane 5, he's second best run in the conference. And then the youngster, and I'm going to steal Tom Fuhrer's information because Art Venegas, who is a throws coach, let's remember he's a throws coach, says this young man, Brandon Johnson, the freshman, the biggest talent he's ever seen in the 400 meters, and that would include Kevin Young, the world record holder, who did attend classes here at UCLA a few years ago.
That's pretty high praise, and they keep looking for a breakout meet from him, and some people whispering in the ear of Tom Fuhrer that maybe this will be it.
Jonathan Williams is second in the conference by 1/100th of a second to Ahmed Wright of Cal, the senior up at Cal. They should be a great race at the Pac-10s in a couple of weeks.
And we are underway in a very even start, but there is Johnson out in lane number 7, making up time. He's the first of the first hurdle.
Well, he may be making a freshman mistake out there because now he's running all by himself, except for in a couple seconds when he sees his own teammate, Jonathan Williams, make up the stagger on him. Whoops,
I'll
there
say he made it up. I mean, he just blew by him.
And Johnson just landed on the back of his heel off that 5th hurdle. He's looking a little bit better now. But that was great for Jonathan Williams to have him out there, but now can Williams hang on? He may be paying the price for that early, hard 200 meters, and let's see what kind of heart this youngster Brandon Johnson has, as he is now well behind his own teammate.
Yeah, Williams right now with Johnson in second place and Matt Willis at UCLA in third place, right at the moment looking like a UCLA sweep. And here comes Johnson again, and Johnson's going to get him, and he's going to get him big time. Williams second, Willis third, UCLA.
And that was a combination of a couple things, both bad for Jonathan Williams. He got very excited about seeing that freshman out there out in lane 7. Figured, gee, I'm faster than him. If he can be out there that much, I must be behind. And then Williams had a terrible number 9 and number 10 hurdle where he almost stopped. And Brandon Johnson saw how bad a hurdle his teammate had and got inspired, had enough left after running that turn, and was able to come up and not nip his teammate, but blow his teammate's doors off.
That's pretty impressive, I think, when you don't run the best tactical race and you still can win going away like that. Right now, the winner with Tom Fewer. Tom?
Brandon, an interesting race. It seemed like you went out pretty fast. You lost a little bit, and then you came on at the end, a little schizophrenic.
Yeah. Well, I knew I had to get out hard, but after I got out, I had to relax. And I just let my teammates take the race. I just go with them.
Well, you ran 51.15. That's a personal best by almost a half second, and some are touting you as the potential winner of the U.S. Junior meet this year.
Well, I don't know about that, but I'm gonna shoot for it.
Well, Kevin Young went to UCLA and he became a future Olympic champion. I'm sure you've got some great shoes to fill in.
Yeah, well, I don't know what to say about that because Kevin Young that's him. So, yeah, but we'll see what happens.
Congratulations, great breakthrough race here. Barry?
You called it, Tom. Breakthrough race for Brandon Johnson, the freshman. And boy, there's another. In fact, Johnson is a name you might just want to tuck away for UCLA in general. Sheena, Brandon, pick your favorite Johnson.
Yeah, Rayford Johnson.
Exactly. There's the official results. 51.58 personal best for Brandon Johnson. Jonathan Williams, his teammate, 51.64. Matt Willis completing the UCLA sweep in 52.67. Looking to the 200 when we come back.
I'm here at the seafood market to show experts.
Leaders coming up in this dual meet between UCLA and USC. Let's take a look right now at the standings after 15 events amongst the women. UCLA continuing to dominate, 76-55. The Bruins leading the Trojans. Amongst the men, we are now after 12 events, and UCLA absolutely dominating. 64-40, so the Bruins having it all the runway here, Dwight.
Yeah, I'm surprised to see that the men are more points ahead of USC than the women are.
Here are the dual meet records in the women's 200. Shaquita Jones of UCLA in 1998, 22.84, and Randy Gibbons of Florida State back in 82, 22.3, the stadium mark. Lane 1, the freshman Dominique Dorsey of USC. Alexis Weatherspoon will be alongside her. Lane 2, Shannon Lewis in lane 3 from UCLA. Ginny Powell's going to run again for lane 4. Monique Henderson, who really is the story here. Lane 5 for UCLA. Mia Edmondson finished third already in the 100. Georgia Richards will be running in lane number 7. And there is nobody in 8 and 9.
Well, Monique Henderson continuing to be the story, as you said today, starting with last week with that 23.03 200-meter personal best. And that's a time about what Marion Jones has run this year. And Virginia Powell has scratched. Jenny Powell out of the 200. I don't blame them for that. And I'm a little surprised, frankly, that Monique Henderson is running in this 200. She probably has said, no, I feel good. I want to do this. She started her day with a great anchor run in the 100 meters, showing that she's improved her turnover and has really emphasized speed. Then she went out and basically ran a time trial in the 400 and ran one of the best times, actually the best time in the country this year on the collegiate side, 51.20 in the 400 all by herself. Now she might be saying, listen, I'm ready to break something in the 200 again. I want to go under 23.
So why not? She's out there. Alongside her, Mia Edmondson, who's already had a pretty good day as well. Dominique Dorsey, the freshman, who can be very tough in lane run, but tough to run in lane 1.
And it's tough to run on this track. The 200 here at Drake Stadium run a little bit differently. They start at the start-finish line and finish on the far end of the track. I haven't seen it run any much differently than that, except for maybe the national championships back in the mid-70s. It's very, very tough for us to tell who really is doing something down those last 10 or 15 meters. But I expect Monique Henderson to be well clear of everybody else in this field.
So we'll see if anybody can challenge her. Alexis Weatherspoon, lane 2, but not a specialist in this event. Monique Henderson by far the best time amongst the entrants here. 23.03 her best. And that was just last week in San Diego, so not a distant memory. They're off in the 200.
Boy, they really are holding them hard today in these sprinting events. And Monique Henderson already really just burning the turn.
Alexis Weatherspoon, USC, also got out very quickly, and she will be in third place alongside Mia Edmondson, who's second, but it's all about Monique Henderson. It is going to be Henderson. The race is going to be for second. Coming up in lane 1, Dominique Dorsey, and it is going to be very close for second. I believe Edmondson got second, and Dorsey might have been there for third, ahead of Alexis Weatherspoon. But all about Monique Henderson yet another time. 22.71 officially.
That's a stadium record, excuse me, a meet record, and that just shows you what she's ready to do.
Boy, that is remarkable on an already busy day for her. Here's the official results of the women's 200. Monique Henderson, a personal best, same 2 for Mia Edmondson. And we turn to the men's 200 right now, and this could be a very competitive race.
Wes Felix of USC, the defending Pac-10 champ, in lane 5, and Craig Everhart of UCLA on his outside, who's having a great day so far.
Felix almost has made up the stagger on Everhart already. It is Felix, Everhart, and Francis. Right now, Felix, Everhart, and Francis, and Felix running very solidly. The race is for second between Everhart and Francis. It is Everhart looking like he might hold Francis off. He does. Felix wins. Everhart second, Francis third.
Well, I'll tell you, Barry, the fact that Wes Felix won the 100 meters earlier shows that his speed is where it needs to be. His turnover was fine. He kept his technique together. He is the defending 200-meter Pac-10 champ. But I thought Craig Everhart, after that really good 400-meter effort and that great relay leg that he had, this was going to be a much more competitive effort on the part of UCLA's Craig Everhart. But Wes Felix, a double winner today.
Yeah, and a personal best 20:57 in this event. That's the official time for Felix. Came in with a 20.93 as his best time. Everhart very creditable as well, 20.91, and Francis in 20.98, a personal best for him. We'll come back.
A great price on a room in Vegas.
We welcome you back. Well, it just wouldn't be a USC-UCLA duel if there weren't a little bit of controversy, and certainly we have that again this year. It came in the women's 800-meter run, and with more on it, let's go to the field and Tom Fewer. Tom, what happened?
Barry, thank you. I just spoke with Robert Marcus, the meet referee. There was a yellow flag raised in that race, and according to the NCAA 2004 rule book, there was a rules violation. Section 5, Article 3B. Irina Voschuk of USC, the winner of the race, veered to the right so as to impede a challenging runner or force the challenging runner to run a greater distance, and hence the call was made to disqualify Voschuk from the 800.
I gotta tell you, Tom, I just don't see it. I mean, yes, she gradually moved out. It's an Eastern European tactic, but I didn't see Caldwell break stride at all. I didn't really see much in the way of contact. I don't think there's any more impeding of progress here than there was in the race last year between Babiskiewicz and Aragon, so I disagree with that call.
So the results now officially give the win to Ashley Caldwell of UCLA, 2:07.41. Gina Clayton, SC second, and Jenna Tominski, who led for much of the race, finishing in third place. Let's go back to the field now, and of course an event near and dear to you, the high jump, and what happened today?
Well, kind of interesting. They jump in a different part of the stadium than they did when I was here. This is David Murphy, who's a pole vaulter. He's 5'10", 168. He improved his personal best from 6'2 3/4 to 6'9 3/4 today. 7-inch PR today in the dual meet. He's also a 17-foot pole vaulter. But here's the transfer from North Carolina State, Jesse Williams, just a sophomore. He jumped fourth in the World Junior meet back in 2002. I have worked with Jesse a little bit. He jumped 7'3" here today, and there is going to be a great meeting between he and sophomore Teak Wilburn of Cal at the Pac-10 meet in a couple of weeks. Jesse Williams winning it with a height of 7'3".
So an impressive performance for the transfer from North Carolina State. We still have more to go in the 72nd renewal of the USC-UCLA dual track and field meet. Second, 3 feet behind him, and Dennis Rice of USC finishes third.
Men's discus, Dan Ames makes it a triple. He wins the hammer yesterday, the shot today, and the discus. Actually, not a long throw for Danny Ames, but not much wind out here either. Jeremy Silver and Brian Rizicki makes it a UCLA sweep, 9 points to nothing for the Bruins.
Well, not too many bright spots for USC, but one that they can take home with them, and that is the performance of Wes Felix. Wins the 100, wins the 200. Right now, he's standing by with Tom Fuhr. Tom?
Wes, a tremendous day for you. Personal bests in both the 100 and 200. What do you attribute to this sudden improvement this year?
Well, I think it's always been in there. I've just had to pull it out, and this is the perfect place to do it. It's a wonderful meet with a great crowd, and there's just so much energy, positive energy here, and so I just went out and had a good time, had fun.
You got a couple big meets coming up here with the Pac-10s and NCAAs. What do you think? Did you have any idea that you'd be able to run this fast, and what do you think your upside is?
Well, I mean, I personally thought I could run that fast. It was just trying to convince everybody else. But going into these next few meets, I've just got to work hard and just keep on believing that I can run faster than what I'm running now. And if I go out every day and put in the work, then it's going to show.
Thank you very much, Wes. Congratulations, Barry.
Well, it certainly showed today. There's no question about it. When we come back, the women's 1,500-meter run. Still more to come in this USC-UCLA duel. End of the afternoon here. Folks getting a little restless as the UCLA Bruins putting it on the USC Trojans. Dual meet record 4:17.25. Leslie Knoll back in the 88. Linda Schiesky with the stadium record, and we are underway. Emily Hogg will be started in lane 1. Ashley Caldwell, Kristen Berglas, Irina Vaschuk, who will be hungry in this race. Ali Barrientos, Crystal Becker, and Allison Hall.
Well, Irina Vaschuk is taking the back part of the pack because she did run hard in that 800 meters and she was disqualified for what I think is kind of a bogus call. Don't really think that she impeded Ashley Caldwell's progress in that 800 meters, but she was DQ'd and the results reversed, giving 6 points to UCLA and 3 to USC. But Ali Barrientos has really been running well this year. The sophomore is a distance specialist and is fresh, more importantly than anything else, is that she's not run any other events today.
Well, that's exactly right, Dwight. And Barrientos has just come back from the dead. That's her number 6 on the side panel in the lead. She redshirted cross country due to an injury. And then I spoke with Jeanette Bolden earlier this week, and she said, you know, I really went and challenged Ali Barrientos when we were at the Texas Relays. And what does she do? She responds with a personal best 4:17, and your point's well taken. She is the fresh runner in this race, and it's going to be very, very difficult if she's in shape. She was the best high school middle distance runner in the country for almost 3 years, from her sophomore to junior years in high school, and she's finally reclaiming that form.
Barrientos running in first place right now. Hall and Hogg running second and third, and I've always said, if you're going to do it Hall, Hogg.
There you go. I can't even touch that. UCLA running 1, 2, 3, 4 in this women's 1,500 meters, and this just shows you the dominance and the depth of the UCLA Lady Bruins this year so many times, both under Bobby Kersey and then again under Jeanette Bolden, who, by the way, with the victory today is 70-0.
Yeah, John Wooden who?
In dual meets here at UCLA. It's incredible when you consider it's a very tough conference to do well in. But anyway, this just punctuates how much depth the UCLA Lady Bruins has, and after so many runner-up finishes in the NCAA championships, maybe this is the year where they can take the title. That meet will be in the middle of June down in Austin, Texas, where it will be easily this hot.
Well, and Dwight, the other thing to mention too is that Eric Peterson took not outside of Barrientos, a group of runners who were not really highly recruited, high caliber high school runners, and took them to a 7th place NCAA cross country finish, again for a school that, you know, since the Bob Larson years has not been known necessarily for its middle and long distance running. And this 1, 2, 3, 4 right now is a classic example of people, especially after Ali, that he's really grown and developed.
And right now Barrientos just having things all her own way, running very easily in front, and she's probably got 20 yards on her teammate, who is Allison Hall. Emily Hogg is there also, and Ashley Caldwell completing that 1, 2, 3, 4 right now for UCLA.
And Vaschuk is moving up now, Barry. She probably is going to take aim at the 3 girls ahead of her. I think she probably realizes, hey, even though my best time this year is the same as Barrientos, that 800 took a lot out of me, and so I think what she's probably going to try to do is say, hey, can I get 2nd place in this race?
Caldwell puts a little move on coming off the turn to move into 2nd place. Vaschuk comfortably behind the other 3. She's running very easily right now too, but the story at the moment is all Ali Barrientos.
And I'm sure that Vaschuk would definitely like to at least beat Caldwell in this race, right, Dwight?
I think so, and she's been smart. She knows what she's got in the tank after that 800. She's not going to be stupid and childish and go out and run stupidly after that 800. She's biding her time. She's now slowly but surely picking off the UCLA runners, and she's going to say, listen, at least maybe I can get some 3 points here for our team and redeem myself to some degree.
One other thing, too, USC has done such an exceptional job of recruiting from Poland. You might remember Grzina Pence and Anna Łapaciu coming from there, and Tom Walsh, their middle distance and long distance coach, has done a marvelous job in taking this raw talent. And of course, Brigitte Langerholtz from Slovenia, who was 4th in the last Olympic Games in Sydney, went to USC.
Well, it pays to know the Warsaw high schools.
That's true. See, it's good to have a recruiter there, right there in Poland. But you're absolutely right, Tommy. Matt Langerholtz had a heck of a year as a USC Trojan in 2000, and still had enough left late in the season in Sydney to come up for 4th in that race.
Here's Caldwell coming right up on the shoulder of Vasychuk now. Barrientos going to win the race. Going to be interesting for 2nd place, though. Vasychuk showing a little something left in the tank, but Caldwell is not going away.
It's the same race as the 800, Barry. It's the exact same type of finish.
This time, Vasychuk is going to get there. Well, she got there first last time, too, but she was taken down. Barrientos wins it wire to wire. Vasychuk 2nd, Caldwell 3rd.
Real breakthrough meet for Ashley Caldwell. I can't say enough. A 2-second PR in the 800 and then a comeback and run a 1500 that competitively. Just a marvelous performance.
And Barrientos just made it routine. Right at the starting gun, she was off on the lead, had the lead all by herself the entire race.
It's nice to be the fresh runner in the race as well, and she showed it. And Caldwell didn't have to run that well in that race and still showed a lot of heart.
I thought she did too. And Vasychuk, let's give her credit. She did get up, get 2nd place ahead of Caldwell. There's 3 UCLA Bruins, all of them around the finish line at about the same time. But the one on the left, Ali Barrientos, is the winner of the 1500 meters. A couple of 4x400s when we come back, and this dual meet will be in the books. Well, the women's standings after 17 events, and UCLA is going to win this meet, and 70-0 in dual meets for the coach, Jeanette Bolden. Amongst the men, pretty similar, 106-52, similar, only worse. 106-52 after 18 events amongst the men with just the 4x400 remaining. So a convincing victory in this duel, much more lopsided than it has been in recent years. So we come to the women's 4x400. It'll be Tracy Thomas on the lead leg for USC, Mackenzie Hill, who you look at right here, for the UCLA Bruins. The Bruins will run in lane 6, Trojans in lane 5. 4x400.
Well, an interesting race here. We haven't talked much about Mackenzie Hill, who's UCLA's leadoff runner, Barry. And she was 2nd at the USA Junior Championships in the 400-meter hurdles last year. A big local star at Long Beach Wilson. And a future, I'm sure they're looking at her as a future talent in the lines of a SHEENA Johnson.
Very even race so far. Hill perhaps a little bit of a lead against with Tracy Thomas. And Thomas actually picking up a little bit of ground. It's very close, I think, Rob.
Well, I'm happy to see that they've pulled Monique Henderson and SHEENA Johnson out of this, and on the USC side, Ginny Powell. There's no reason to make them work any harder than they are going to have to over the next 6 weeks. And then whatever they have left, they get to go to the Olympic trials and run as individuals. So I think that they've both proven that they're ready, and Monique Henderson especially. And now it's just a matter of going through the motions and letting some of your underlings get a chance to run in front of the crowd. I think it's great.
Nice first leg by Tracy Thomas. She will hand off to Triani Swain, who is underway. And for UCLA, Natasha Hall, who's got about 15 yards to make up.
And Triani Swain, another one of those great age group runners. She held the national 8th grade record at 800 meters, ran 2:08 in that time. Hasn't really been able to develop much beyond that, but again, coming to USC and having the tutelage of Ron Ellis and Tom Walsh, and she may be able to recapture some of that form from her younger days, and she's obviously gapping Natasha Hall here.
Yeah, doing a very nice job. Tracy Thomas, 53.5 first leg for USC, and Swain putting a little bit more distance. She started out with an edge of about 15 yards. It's up to, I'd say, 22, 23 yards right now over Natasha Hall.
And all freshmen and sophomores running for the USC Trojans, which shows that they've got plenty of people left to throw at you, and which maybe is a good time to mention how much different would it have been on the women's side if Allison Felix, Wes Felix's younger sister, who very much talked about high school record, breaking Marion Jones' 200-meter record in high school, had she decided to go ahead and compete collegiately at USC this year. She's decided to forego any collegiate eligibility and run professionally and try to make the Olympic team. I think her chances of making that team are not as good as maybe a number of other athletes who are out here today, amongst them Monique Henderson. And I think that it might have been one of the worst decisions made. In track and field, it's not like basketball or some other sports where maybe you think you can go out there and test the professional waters. Collegiate track is a great way to get mature and learn and then move up to the upper echelons. I think Allison Felix made a mistake, and hopefully I can't stand by that. I'd love to see her do well this year.
Well, I agree with that. And actually, excuse me, Barry, Allison Felix is training at USC and is supported by the other athletes. She's being trained by Pat Connolly, who coached Evelyn Ashford.
Tunisia Johnson, who was on the third leg, hands off to Shantae McKinney for the anchor, and USC, unless they just drop this thing, is going to win this. Jenna Tominski on the anchor leg, 54-3 for Tunisia Johnson. That coming on the heels of Triani Swain's 53-5.
And one other note to follow up with what Dwight said about Allison Felix. Ron Alice basically lost a recruiting year and a scholarship, and he's bringing in 3 top-flight sprinters next year, including a couple local, Carol Rodriguez and Jasmine Lee from Long Beach Wilson and Long Beach Poly. But, you know, he lost a blue-chip athlete that's just not available to him this year.
Right, exactly. And again, I hope she does really, really well, but I always love to see a kid at least spend some time in college and get into the system and learn how to train with a group. But USC Trojans are going to be just fine.
USC winning every leg of this 4x400. Shantae McKinney will bring it home for the Trojans. Right around 3:36 and change, and here's Jenna Tominski for UCLA. 54-8 on a very easy anchor leg for Shantae McKinney, and the USC Trojans getting at least a little something back as they win the 4x400. So the Trojans win it, 3:36.10 the official time. Men's 4x400 remaining, but it's all academic. UCLA is going to win this meet easily. Welcome you back. The final running event of the day. Final event of the day, as a matter of fact. The men's 4x400 meter relay. The dual meet record 3:03.47 set by UCLA back in 1980. And the stadium record set by TCU back in 1988. Here are the lane assignments. UCLA lane 5, USC lane 6, and there's been changes on that, and we'll give that to you. So disregard those names that you see. For USC, it'll be Jeff Garrison. Wes Felix will run the second leg. Anthony Heckman will run leg 3, and Michael Pratt will be on the anchor leg. For UCLA, it'll be Brandon Johnson, Thornton, Vershawn, and Basami.
And on paper, this is pretty evenly matched, much more so than the women's race was, and I'm frankly surprised, blown away almost, that Wes Felix would want to run this 4x400. He would have a 100 meters in the relay, an open 100, an open 200, both of which he ran brilliantly, and then now he's going to run a 400. It's like hitting for the cycle. I just hope he doesn't have any ill effects as a result of it.
Well, and this has been the day of Wes Felix's track life. I mean, to run 10:31, 20:57 in a dual meet is just, it's just out of this world.
Well, he's on a roll. Jeff Garrison will run the first leg for USC. Brandon Johnson for UCLA. And Jeff Garrison, interesting story in that he's just had a myriad of injuries and just does not get the practice time that most of his teammates get. So this is his moment in the sun right here.
This really is, Barry. He's had stress fractures in his legs, and he's only able to train once a week on the track. And so this is, as you say, his moment in the sun. And Brandon Johnson seems to be making up quite a bit here in the opening 200.
Yeah, it's getting cloudy in a hurry, isn't it? Johnson has made up a lot of the stagger, and Johnson will make the turn for home. It looks like he'll be a few yards ahead.
Dwight, he is an impressive prospect, isn't he?
I'd say he is. I'll tell you, I ran this race at Long Beach State under Coach Ron Alice, and I wouldn't have wanted to jump in here only training 1 day a week. I can tell you that.
Garrison hanging in there pretty good, though. He actually turned for home in front, only to spit the bit a little bit down the stretch. Handoff now, Nick Thornton for USC.
Now this is an interesting one, Barry. You have the winner of the Open 800 against the winner of the Open 100 and 200 meeting at a distance 400 in between for both of them.
The kind of day that Wes Felix is having, I'm going to give the nod to Wes to make up a great deal of this gap, if not close it completely.
It's Thornton for UCLA and Felix for USC.
And talking to Ron Alice, he feels that ultimately this distance, 400 meters, will be the best for Wes Felix, and I tend to agree with him. What do you think, Dwight?
Yeah, I think that's a good call, and I'm surprised to not see him close it. In fact, I'm glad that he's not, because I don't want him working that hard. He's had a great day. But yes, I think the strength that he's shown in the 200, and then he's got that turnover from the 100, but he is suffering and laboring from his efforts already today. I think that he was over enthusiastic about what he might be able to do here.
No question about it. Little man handling the big man. Daniel Verscher for UCLA and Anthony Heckman, who we saw earlier in the 800 for USC.
Well, and here again, Verscher ran a very, very nice race. It kind of went overlooked because of Craig Everhart's unbelievable 45.3, but Verscher himself ran mid-46, and Heckman, of course, was involved in that 800 meters. So another kind of meeting here at this distance, but really Verscher is much the fresher athlete, it looks.
Well, I'd say Nick Thornton ran one heck of a 400-meter leg there, too. He didn't give anything up to Wes Felix.
UCLA has run 3:04 in this distance this year. They're a very, very solid team.
47.1 was Thornton's time. Very good leg.
Absolutely. Well, Felix, like I said, I think was a little over enthusiastic, and Ron said, okay, fine, if you think you want to do it, go ahead and jump in there.
Verscher, the handoff to Mario Bassami, and now USC on its final leg with Michael Pratt.
Well, this lead is at least that which SC had over UCLA on the ladies' side, so I stand corrected. I thought this was going to be a much closer race, but I thought maybe Wes Felix was a bit more fit than he thought he was. But still, he's done plenty of work today to run a hard 100 in the relay, then an open 100, an open 200, both in personal bests, and then come out here and run a 4x400. That's a lot more than I think Coach Alice expected out of it.
Verscher put a 46.6 on it.
And I think outside of Baylor, Arizona State, and LSU, I think UCLA is right there at the NCAA's, Dwight. I mean, they have a loaded team.
Yeah, well, that's the tradition, of course, here at UCLA. The 4x4 has always been a favorite of the coaches in the past, and they've more than acquitted themselves well in the 4x400.
Now, they won that one by about 50 yards. 46.9 anchor leg for Mario Bassami. Very consistent performance, even though you might say this was the UCLA B team, but the B team playing up to A level today. We'll come back. We'll wrap things up from here at Drake Stadium. A happy group of UCLA Bruins. UCLA 306.59, 313.84 for USC. Dwight for the men's triple jump.
Didn't get a chance to see him, but Alan Sims dominating. 54 10 3/4 for the win over Dimitri Howard of UCLA and Clark McGuire of USC.
And Tom Fewer, as we head into the heart of the track and field season, things looking very bright, particularly for the UCLA Bruins.
Correct, Barry, and I would like to say that it seems like every year these teams actually reload rather than rebuild. And one classic case today, we didn't get a chance to see it, but Michelle Sanford of USC, a freshman, won the long jump, second in the triple jump. She is the daughter of James Sanford, another former Trojan who was #1 ranked in the world in the 100 meters in 1979. These programs are so rich with tradition, and the current generation just keeps bringing it on. Barry?
Yeah, and it doesn't look like it's going to end anytime soon, too. Yogi Berra said, remember, it's never over till it's over. Well, today, Dwight, it was over before it was over.
No question. I think USC did a good job to score 70 points against this women's team, and on the men's side, it was just absolutely a hammer.
So USC still with something to prove, and don't you know they will when we get around to the 73rd renewal of this 1 year from now. It's a wrap for us from here at Drake Stadium. For my partners, Dwight Stones and Tom Fewer, I'm Barry Tompkins saying so long, everybody. The UCLA Bruins have won this duel.
A postcard from the